I think the world has an oversupply of data, but an undersupply, a massive undersupply of insights, right?
Yeah.
Everybody has data. The problem is data is uh, distributed. Data is on disjointed platforms, right? I would say and it is further, uh, you know, complicated with, disparate platforms on which your data resides, as well as the disorientation caused by the complex workflows across these platforms. So the way I look at it as distributed, disjointed, disparate, all of these cause disorientation for marketers. My journey has been from absolute ground zero. My background is that I was just a graduate from Jai Hind College in Bombay, and I had no business background. My father spent 38 years in Reserve Bank of India. Both my parents were bankers. We lived in a small 1 BHK apartment in Bombay, which he built over those 38 years with his money. Right. So I had no capital, no business experience, nothing as a background. And I was always clear that I wanted to do business. So I probably took up one of the first campus placements right out of college. And that was a terrible experience, right? So like a true entrepreneur, the first thing I wanted to do is solve what I found as the first problem. So I quit that job in 1.5 months and started a job site for freshers, which was called jobsforfreshers.com, which ran for about a year and a half. I was a solo entrepreneur. I failed twice to raise funding, and this is way back in 2005. So you can imagine there was no funding at that point in time, and it was a great experience, but a terrible failure. Right. Post that, I started a blog called What Blog, which was one of the technology blogs in those time, 2006. Again, very early days. From now, I mean, many people that you meet today don't even remember what 2006 or 2007 was like, but I remember it like yesterday, right? And that blog sort of transformed into a social media agency called What Consult, right? And the journey had its own share of terrible ups and downs, to be very honest. During the Lehman Brothers crash during 2008, I went out of money. I had to lay off 15 people. I was so angry with myself, emotionally distraught, that I punched a glass through and through. If you can see this scar, there are some 6 stitches out here. I was quite dramatic and filmy, as they say in India, right? But yeah, when the doctor was stitching me up like this and in the hospital saying, "Why did you do this? How stupid are you?" And I actually felt very stupid, right? And I promised myself that if I can't control my emotions in business, I have no business being in business, right? This was 2008, and from there I restarted with, again, me and a couple of interns in 2009, the agency business, which was What Consult, and things fell in place. I learned my hard lessons around finance. I truly believe that businesses succeed because of great financial decisions and fail because of poor financial decisions. Right? Everything else is important, but success and failure, one key ingredient is good or bad financial decisions, right? And I learned from that, and I sort of scaled it up. It started scaling. 2009, cut to 2015, we were being chased by very large agencies to get acquired. Another reason, a lot of people ask me, why did you sell your agency? Because there are a lot of much larger agencies today. I think at that point in time, it was more a personal entrepreneurship decision. I mean, even if I would have sold my dad's house that he had, or all my properties, my clothes, all the jewelry, I wouldn't be able to finance the 1 quarter's credit we were financing to our clients, the media credit, right? Because that's the amount of media we were buying, right? Social media ads had become big by 2015, and we were buying crores and crores of, millions and millions of, about a couple of millions of dollars of media buys. And if a quarter like the Lehman Brothers crash happened, or the pandemic would have happened in 2015, nobody has control over these things, right? We would be finished, right? I wouldn't be able to sell anything worthwhile, even myself, to be able to finance the business. So the only reason to sell majority stake, two reasons. One was this, to make sure that the business that I spent so hard after failing, surviving, shutting down, starting up, learning, and I started when I was 21 years old. 2006, I was 21, right? So I wanted it to have some longevity, right? And Dentsu came along. It looked like a great place. Ashish, who was the leader of Dentsu at that point in time, the CEO of Dentsu India, he seemed like a great guy to work with, seemed like a person I could work with. And I ended up exiting my business. I only sold majority stake. I held on to minority for the next 4 years, which I finally exited in December 2019, right? And I scaled up that agency from 150 people to 450 people within the Dentsu ecosystem. It quadrupled, or the bottom line went 5 or 6 times. The revenue went 6 or 7 times. So it was a fairly successful stint during that journey. I learned how large networks work. So it was a great experience. And yeah, I mean, the people that I worked with are still there. They've scaled up across at the Dentsu level. So I'm extremely proud of the team that I worked with. I think entrepreneurs take too much credit for too little work. A lot of times their biggest achievement is assembling a great team. And I would like to believe that that was my greatest achievement as well. I, in 2020, started RD&X network. That's the holding company's name. But the platform we run is called rebid.co. And we essentially aggregate all data across media, which is your ads. So all your ad platforms, Google, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, programmatic, the data management platforms, the mobile measurement platforms, everything that you need to create, run, manage your ads globally can be done on Rebid. And we started building this platform in 2020. We went to market earlier this year. And we, of course, now have clients across we have clients across every region in the world, APAC, EMEA, and US now, which is actually unheard of, given that we are a Indian company in the context that most of our employees are in India, right? And it's an India out model. So that has been a journey. It looks successful now. It wasn't so over the 2 years. I think at every quarter there was a moment where we thought we're just either crazy or going to die. So I think it's been a very massive roller coaster over the last 2 years. I think what has helped is my earlier experience of last 14 years, where I've kept calm even when things didn't seem to have a light at the end of the tunnel. The good part is that, unlike the last time where I had zero capital and I bootstrapped a services business, which is easier to do without capital, right? This time it's a product business. I have some of my capital at my disposal, and which I have used hopefully judiciously. You only know when it works out, right? But hopefully judiciously, to actually build core IP as a product platform. And when you talk about data, coming to your question, right? I think the world has an oversupply of data, but an undersupply, a massive undersupply of insights, right? Everybody has data. The problem is data is distributed. Data is on disjointed platforms, right? I would say it is further, complicated with disparate platforms on which your data resides, as well as the disorientation caused by the complex workflows across these platforms. So the way I look at it as distributed, disjointed, disparate, all of these cause disorientation for marketers or marcom professionals, because what do you want to see? You want to see who which clients are interested. If you're a B2B player, which clients are interested in you, or if you're a B2C player, which customers are knowing about your brand, engaging with it, activating it, or participating, or then converting. And then you want to be able to use this data of converted customers to bring in more similar customers so that you can scale. This is the journey for B2B and for B2C players, right? Even for them, it's about, while there is branding, at the end of the day, they are looking at point of sale. And today, 90% of point of sale is online as well. There is a digital transaction journey for every kind of product out there, given what pandemic has done over the last 2 years, right? Omni-channel is not just a nice buzzword, it's a reality, right? So I think all of these different touch points are in all databases that were built over the last 30 years, right? So you have a retail client who has his offline databases in somewhere else, then he just onboarded a CRM which is in the cloud, then he's using ad platforms that are all separate, right? If you look at even your communication or PR industry, where you come from, it is so much of it is data is offline, distributed, disconnected, not talking to each other. And I think that's a huge problem, right? Till we are not able to build systems, processes, platforms, technology that helps data talk to data and deliver actionable insights, we are always going to struggle with inefficiencies and ineffectiveness. I believe in overlaying data on top of each other, right? So if there is point A to point B, can I get sales data, brand sentiment data? I'm using terminology that would work for both PR and marketing and media professionals. But let's say, could I get also ads data? Could I get also organic data? Could I get overlay also my CRM data, offline touch? Can I overlay all of that on top of each other and draw correlations and connections between them, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
Right? Then I can actually use human intelligence on top of data intelligence and say, let's try if this, then that as an activation workflow. That if a customer buys offline, let's send him this emailer online 7 days later, right? And then show him this ad 14 days later, because this is his pattern or journey. These are 10 types of journeys we see of customers converting, right? Now this could be B2B, this could also be B2C, because now you have e-commerce where you know how transactions happen. And you have offline, even if you're having retail systems, people are going and shopping offline. Large part of retail players, if you're a clothing player, you have your data. If you're a jewelry player, you have any retail, you have the data, right? Get it? And today with ad tech being so precise, where you can have geolocation targeting, you can know whether a particular area, you even have geolocation based data, even if you're FMCG, if you're selling cola, for example, right? And I would say you can also look at whether brand engagement then has an impact on sales, or brand engagement then has an impact on ROAS, return on ad spend, or brand. There's metrics. If you overlay them, you can build correlations. Correlations will build insights. And then if you have smart enough people, insights will be turned into actionable insights. I think the first role is of product and sales, right? You need to have a product that is applicable to each of those countries. Step number one, right? A lot of people in the product domain, you feel you have a great product, but your UI, UX and user experience, if it's not global and applicable to some of the large countries or even the smaller markets that you're going to, let's say language barriers, let's say you were entering you don't have a language translation. That could be a problem in entering the country. Even UI UX, like for example, if you're entering US and UK, UI UX needs to be far better than what an acceptable UI UX has in the Asia, because they are used to using platforms far more, right? In fact, my understanding is different markets behave differently. Some markets do not use platforms at all. They want a layer of managed services on top of your platform, right? So it really, you need to pick and choose your market depending upon what your strengths are as a product, what your UI UX is, because it's possible you are at the stage as a startup where you don't have that kind of UI UX that's ready for the global market. You may have a decent product, right? And a lot of people focus on features. I think the first impression for customers in adoption is user experience. Features could be lesser in my view, right? But user experience, if that's not great, it has a challenge, right? So our playbook is very simple. We look at, are we attracting interest from that market through organic outreach or even ads outreach? Because that's a low-hanging fruit, right? You can spend $1,000 a month, right? And just beta test whether you're getting demos from that market. Okay, that's step number. Step number 2, post demos, what is the follow-up? Are you getting number 2 meeting, number 3 meeting, 10 people are coming on a meeting if it's an enterprise client? If you're a self-serve SaaS, let's say, platform, then it's actually even simpler, because then it's not about the demo, it's about are you getting signups from that market? And post sign-up is the stickiness, right? So that's actually a very metric-based, very data-based approach. But we are into enterprise sales, so our approach is slightly goes into the virtual demo mode and then selling that, right? So there again, the metrics are they coming back? Now, all it takes is for you to win 1 or 2 clients in a market, and then it's all about then leveraging PR to make a noise about that. So PR is not just about press release, right? It's about case studies, use cases, insights, creating enough and more material with that 1 or 2 clients that prove that your product works. Even if it works for a specific industry, that's all right, right? And from there you move on and try and narrow cast that only to your audiences, right? Because you're still very small, right? So you figure out your audiences, who are the right people to narrow cast this information, and then get that 1 or 2 clients to turn into 5 or 7 clients. Once that's happened, it's about then establishing local teams and whatnot, right? But that's the process I would follow. And I think PR is not just about press release. In fact, that comes much later in the life cycle of a company. And it's nice to do press release. It's far more than being visible and building thought leadership among your audiences as well, especially in the B2B domain. If you are even, let's say, a D2C brand, let's say you were selling coffee, or you just have a website where you are selling coffee, right? And you want to be a global coffee player. I think the first step is to get customers and then turn them into testimonials of how great coffee you have. Turn them into actual videos. Make sure you get your like an online recorded video of a customer who's trying your gourmet coffee, let's say, who bought it from your website, and who's sipping it and who's saying it's amazing, I love it, right? And then use that video as an ad, post his permission across Instagram and other platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, wherever, right? So even that is your initial PR, because then your customers are doing your PR, right? And there's no bigger PR than a customer testimonial, right? Whether you're selling coffee, whether you're selling a health drink, whether you're selling a health band, whatever it may be. If you see, a lot of the D2C brands are built that way. On Bleebit, our entire focus is media effectiveness, and we work with a lot of marketers who want to be advanced and future-proofed, and already modern marketers who realize the value of unified data, dashboards, and so on and so forth. We've not given them as of now a media plus PR integrated approach. So let me take an example, given your questions from my earlier avatar when I was in What Concerned. I think my favorite campaign, and also the campaign that I ideated by myself, which actually won multiple global awards and was also shortlisted in Cannes Lion, was Powerless Queen. And it was an out and out PR campaign, right? And we are not a PR company actually. So essentially, I think for any integrated campaign to be successful, from my experience, you need to have a core idea that's recreated, repeated in every format, shape, size, medium, and channel. Right? It could be recreated creatively, but the core idea can't be lost in the search for creativity. Got it? So what happened with Powerless Queen is we created a game where you couldn't move the queen, you know, in the chess game, and it was an online game, right? What ended up happening for us, and the only thing we did is we actually brought on, Tanya Sachdev, who's a woman grandmaster, to be in our, video to announce the campaign, and got her to tag Vishwanathan. And that just blew out, right? We made sure our audience was niche. It was relevant audience that we were talking to. And then you had Hari Krishnan also, who's a grandmaster, come in. You had a Dutch grandmaster join in. You had US grandmaster join in. We had a woman grandmaster from Europe actually do a 7-minute video of how she couldn't defeat the queen. This was all organic, right? And then we did some media behind it as well, and it all sort of came out. But I think have a very sharp core idea, which is intelligent if possible, but even if it's simple, make sure the core idea is recreated and repeated in multiple formats and platforms, because only then it can have an impact as an integrated campaign that drives ROI, right? We do the same at Rebid as well, but from a media standpoint, if you look at the Rebid platform, we have search, social, programmatic, native, all ad platforms integrated in one platform. So we give the media buyer or the digital marketer the power to create the same message across 15 different platforms and activate them seamlessly, which otherwise he has to go in 15 different platforms and activate them and then correlate all those creatives as well, which he can do that on one platform, that's Rebid. So I think the power of unified message, unified data, unified integrated approach cannot be overstated in the media and marketing domain. I think that's slicing and dicing it too much. I think PR has to be through and through, right? Look at your customer journey depending upon whether it's B2B or B2C, right? If you get a bad PR when the customer is at just the day before, like think about it, right? Cadbury had those worms in Cadbury, right? And they acted really fast, many years back. It was a massive crisis PR campaign. It was bottom of the funnel impact. I mean, they just, it was crazy for them because they're like, oh shit, our sales will really go down the drain, right? So how can you say negative PR could have massive impact on bottom of the funnel, right? I mean, even if you look at the movie business, Lal Singh Chadda, right? Great examples of how bad PR, some quotes that the movie actors gave, which they shouldn't have given, right, led to the audiences. I mean, maybe the movie would have not done too well anyways because the story or the marketing wasn't that great. But nonetheless, there was a lot of bad PR that had bottom of the funnel impact, right? I think good PR is very much necessary for top of the funnel. You need to avoid bad PR or bad publicity for any bottom of the funnel impact. In B2B business, for sure, PR has impact across top to bottom of the funnel, right? For example, there might be a client who's on the fence, who knows your product or platform, and he's a B2B, he's a client of yours, whether you're an agency or a platform or whatever. And because you announce a new client win, it triggers him to go and come and approach you. You know, he's seen you, he's done your demos for last 7 months, 10 months, but good PR has bottom of the funnel impact. Good PR may not have, advertising has more bottom of the funnel impact in B2C, right? Rather than PR. Though PR is part of that, right? When you do a campaign, so when they do, let's say, for example, a Virat Kohli brand ambassador of the brand wrong, right? So he does ads, but he also does some amount of interpersonal interaction, some, you know, PR gimmicks or whatever. But that's not essentially going to translate into impulse buys, is my thought process. It may have small impact on impulse buys, but large sales is driven by branding and sort of in B2C, it's more about experience, buying experience as well. So if your online buying experience is great, it's possibly going to be more. PR's role in B2C is the top and middle of the funnel, more or less. Bad PR in B2C can destroy bottom of the funnel. And in B2B, I would like to believe that PR is true and true, right? Also, most of the time in B2B, bad PR is never catastrophic, right? Bad PR would be like somebody just comparing you to some other platform and saying your platform scores 3.5, the other platform scores 4. It's not life or death in B2B.
Got it.
Yeah. Unless you have a employer related news and you're in the news for saying, you know, people should work 20 hours out of 24 hours, and then that's bad PR even if you're a B2B company. I think firstly, PR is a very old age agnostic term for a lot of things today, right? So what was PR? Public relations, because public medium was just newspapers and then television. PR became the outreach to journalists. That's the traditional understanding of PR, right? But today, everybody is a publisher, right? Everybody is a publisher. Even your customers are publishers. So what is PR today, right? So if you were to say data and PR, let's say 30 years ago, right, which is not, I mean, still 1990s, you would just say, okay, here is my list of journalists, here is my list of TV journalists, here are the ones who cover my beat, we need to keep them happy, take them out for lunches, dinners, explain our products, and they need to be feeling wow about what we are doing. Finished, more or less, right? But data and PR now is a lot more things, right? Because a small customer with a great storytelling ability on the negative side can create a global PR crisis for you, right? So I think real-time data across every kind of consumer voice about your brand is step number one. And I mean every kind, not just online, newspaper, everything, right? The second is also real-time data about your category itself, so that you can find opportunities to insert your brand or opportunities for storytelling, for positioning, opportunities for winning mind share in a niche, right? All of those come from the research in and around or more than your category, right? So these are two definitely, and both of these data are available, right? The third is data around publishers that are important for your brand. Now, the reason I'm calling them publishers because they could be influencers, bloggers, TikTokers, they could be journalists of course, right? But anything else as well, right? So that would be the third data as to who, right? So the three things basically are is, you know, everything about you, everything about what else in the category, right? And everything about who is talking about your category, right? If you can get all of these data points and then start working on a integrated outreach and engagement plan, that would actually start making more sense. And most of PR is about externalizing the internal, right? In a storytelling, digestible format that's easy to understand and share.
Yes.
So you have an internal story, right? Sometimes that's very technical, right? Sometimes that's very internal. You need to externalize it in a way that it doesn't lose its essence, but becomes digestible and shareable easily.
Yeah.
Because people externally can remember a word easily, can remember 3 words easily, can remember a sentence maybe, but anything beyond that, they start to lose track. So I think you externalize the internal into 1 word, 3 words and a sentence. And then look at how you can position that single message across multiple mediums, across multiple stakeholders in a concentrated manner, so as to say. There is no space in the future for a professional who is a domain expert but not data and technology adept or friendly or whatever you call it, right? So if you are young and starting out your career in any domain, learn how you can build a lot of research and data around that domain, be able to draw connections on that data to build insights, and see, if possible, with the use of technology, automate that so that you are learning to use your time for making intelligent decisions rather than using your time for making manual interventions. Right? So if I were let's take a simple example. If I were a PR executive, right, I would focus on how can I know who to contact, when to contact, having these answers, right? And what message works, rather than building 2,000 people lists. You get what I'm trying to say, right? From manual intervention, you move to automation and focus more on difficult questions that need intelligent answers.